Okay, I am live on Facebook, so that's good. Now let's get, hmm, I am live, good, on YouTube. That's good. Can you hear me well, TJ?
Yep.
TJ, can you hear me? Oh, I can't hear you. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Not text me. Everyone, thank you for joining. I know we are going to get started at exactly 11:30. I would just ask if everyone could please make sure, TJ, just text me and make sure everything's good so that I'm sure. Okay, I will let you know. We're going to get started in 1 minute, but I just want to make everybody aware that if you want to ask questions or have comments, please make sure you do them early so that we don't run out of time because we will be stopping at 11:30 on the dot. Great. I'm glad everything is going well. So TJ, we can start the recording. Hello, everyone. We're going to give a minute for everyone to build the audience. We will start exactly at 11:30. So I would just encourage everyone that if you have questions or comments, whether it is on Facebook or if it's on YouTube, that you please make sure that you put those comments in early. So good afternoon. My name is Felicia Moore. As you know, I'm president of the Atlanta City Council, and I'm welcoming you to another edition of Conversations with the Council President. But before we get started, and I just want to take a moment of silence for Haroon Shaheed Wakil. Haroon was a personal friend of mine. I got to know him in his advocacy at City Hall. And many of you probably saw him when we were meeting in person, and he would come down and speak at council. He was a fixture in the community that if there was a protest or if there were people trying to help the homeless, walking kids to school, I mean, he was always there and around. And he would text me often. He texts other people often. I found out that he certainly stayed connected with many elected officials across the city and the state. And so I just want to take a moment of silence, if we could, for Haroon. Thank you so much. You know, his presence will be missed. He was big in stature and in heart. His presence will be missed at City Hall and within our communities. So, City Council, City Hall still remains closed. As you all know, the building itself has been closed and will remain closed until further notice. There is a phases by which the pandemic and the numbers that will allow us to open City Hall. City Council meetings are still being held remotely, and you can still tune in. As a matter of fact, we have a council meeting today. It will start at 1 p.m. You can certainly view it on our website at Atlanta City Government, AtlantaGA.gov, or on the Atlanta City Council page, or on my page. This page right here that you're watching, you can also see the Atlanta City Council meeting, and you can call in the day before any meeting of council, whether it's a full council meeting or if it's the committee meetings or work sessions. We still allow and want public comment, and you will hear that played during this meeting. So please stay engaged with us at Atlanta City Hall. Also, the pandemic. We all know that now we have vaccines out, as well as there's continued testing. So please make sure you get tested. And if you're in the categories of people that we are now um, vaccinating, to look for those locations and do that at your will. We are still in the throes of it. Fulton County has seen over 74,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19, and DeKalb, which is also in Atlanta, sometimes people forget that, 51,000. And then again, vaccinations are available in limited supply. Per the Georgia Department of Health, vaccines are now available to healthcare workers, law enforcement, fire personnel, first responders, residents, staff of long-term care facilities, and individuals aged 65 and older and their caregivers. So if you fit in those categories, you're eligible. You can contact the health department's vaccine scheduling resource line. That number is 888-457-0186. Again, that's 888-457, excuse me, 457-0186. And we'll put that in the chat so you'll have that at your fingertips. Also, Fulton County has announced the development of a rental assistance program for Fulton County residents that live outside the city of Atlanta. Application are scheduled to open today. If you do not live in the city of Atlanta, but you live in Fulton County, you can go to www.fultoncountygagovernment/rent-help. And that will be put in the chat as well so that you can find that readily available. If you are in city of Atlanta, as you remember, we got $88 million of direct CARES Act funding from the federal government. United Way is helping us to distribute rental assistance money, as well as the Urban League is doing that. And Star C, which I interviewed on a previous conversation with the council president. So if you know someone who needs rental assistance, please feel free to contact those organizations. Again, we need to be vigilant, keep wearing our masks, social distancing, washing our hands, and doing all we can do to lessen the spread. If you watch the news, you know there are several variant strains out there that are more contagious. That means that we need to be more vigilant. They also have upgraded the mask wearing to say that you may want a double mask, making sure that you have enough filtering between yourself and others, as well as others and yourself. So take all those precautions and take this virus seriously. Unfortunately, we're continuing to lose people, and then even people who survive it are also having long-term effects. So please be cautious when you're out there. So public safety, that's a big issue. Since my last conversations with the council president in January, you will know that the city council has really taken this issue on through our public safety committee and taking a deeper dive into the issue. Many of you know, if you read the news, that we had a very difficult weekend this weekend with over a dozen people being shot, one losing their life. And I want to send my condolences out to that family and all of those. You know, people really need to find other ways to resolve conflicts. All of the incidents were unrelated and had different reasons or circumstances around them happening. But we do need to make sure that we have more presence of our officers on the street that may help to mitigate people's ability to just pull out guns and start shooting. Public safety is a major issue, and I just want to say that the council through the committee is been doing a series of things. So you might always want to, if you're concerned about public safety, tune in to the public safety committee meetings. It will be next Monday. They always have someone from the police department and our fire department come and update us on what's going on in the city as it relates to that. Right now, the big discussion is about the Atlanta City Detention Center Sheriff Patrick Labat has expressed interest in acquiring the facility, and the administration is continuing to pursue its closure. So there's two competing things going on there, but the council is really taking this time to better understand the feasibility of both of those approaches. So there's been a work session on housing, the Atlanta ACDC, that's it for short, the Atlanta City Detention Center, at the municipal court. There have been tours of both the municipal court and the ACDC facility. Also a tour of the Fulton County Jail facility. There's been a work session with Fulton County on their proposal to use the Atlanta City Detention Center. And the next work session is scheduled to evaluate the proposals on the ACDC. That is scheduled for the March 4th at 1:00 p.m. Again, if you want to give public comment on March 3rd, you would do that between 4 and 7. I post all that information on my site, as well as is posted at Atlanta City Council site on all the social media channels, as well as the Atlanta ga.gov, the city's website under City Council. So you can get that phone number and you can call in if you have an opinion. Other news on the state side, the Georgia State Legislature is in session, and I have been, as well as council, engaging with our Atlanta delegation. There are many items of interest to us on their agenda, and so we will certainly be giving our position on many of those, and you should do it as well. And then on the federal level, I am involved with the National League of Cities and GMA, as we are in support of the third stimulus plan that is currently under consideration in DC, and hope that that brings us more money so that we can provide services to you, the citizens of Atlanta. And I would ask again for you to please follow our meetings as we strive to make decisions that are in the best interest of the city. And so I'm going to look and see if we have any comments. So please forgive me as I scroll through, because I'm looking on Facebook, as well as we have a channel on YouTube, and I don't see any comments. I can't believe you all are so very quiet today. But I do want to make just a couple more points about COVID and the other issue that we're talking about, public safety. As time moves on, we will be looking at how we expand our opening of City Hall. And I know that I've received through social media from you some concern about the fact that we do not have, oh, I lost my Facebook thing, that we do not have open yet the basketball courts. And I have inquired about that, and I understand that they are looking into that, looking at the assessment. And it's a bit, disheartening, the fact that the kids can't play basketball. But on the other hand, we look at our nightclubs and bars that are open and that are packed to the rim. So, I have shared that information for those of you who have reached out to me, and I know other members on social media wanting to understand why, and really urging, encouraging us to open up the basketball courts. And so we have passed that information on to the administration, and hopefully they will either in the community, perhaps it will be in the Community Development and Human Services Committee, be able to give a report and update as to how we can get our facilities open, and not only just our basketball courts, but we're also looking in need of our recreation facilities to be open to give our students some other things to do. On the public safety realm, many of us know that we have the NBA basketball weekend coming up, and people are concerned about how that will impact our nightclubs. Now, the event itself is going to be a closed number of people. It's basically a TV event, but we know even though it's a TV event, that many of the bars, restaurants, and nightclubs would also have viewing parties in their facilities, as well as parties after the game. And the council has expressed, as well as I'm sure they are aware, that we will need to make sure that we increase our presence throughout and around these nightclubs, because we have actually seen, particularly in this COVID environment, that our clubs and nightclubs, our clubs, nightclubs, and restaurants have seen a lot of activity in and around them related to public safety, a lot of shootings, fights, et cetera. And so we want to make sure that we have the presence. Again, on the presence issue, I just want to say that we know that we're down about 400 officers. I did see where our interim chief was interviewed on Channel 2 and said that, he thought even with that, we had enough officers and that we augment that with other specialized units when necessary. And I would just say that taking into account what happened this weekend or this past weekend, and knowing what we may face with all of the influx of people, because the hotels are filling up and people are coming to the city, whether they can go to the game or not, that I just hope that we are going to have an all hands on deck approach to public safety, where any and all units are available to make sure that we have excellent presence and coverage around the city, so that people know if in fact they are considering doing anything criminal or illegal, that they won't get far, because our officers are out and about in the communities, as well as in and around the nightclubs and bars that we have seen increased scrutiny. So I don't see any questions from anyone. Let me check on YouTube. I can't believe you all are this quiet and silent. Any questions from anyone? Okay. Let me stop this. Okay. And so I will, I guess I'll start to wrap up, since we don't have that, which is not a bad thing, because today has been extremely busy, going from one thing to another. And again, we do have our Atlanta City Council meeting at 1:00 p.m. Let me see if there's some other issues I can think of. Okay, I do have a question. Any thoughts, comments on the proposed Beltline Special Service District, or the Beltline Rail Now response to it? So let me start with the latter part, and then I'll go with the SSD. The Beltline Rail Now, when we started the Beltline was most certainly for the transit that would connect all of our neighborhoods. And I have read the Beltline Rail Now proposal on their proposal on financing. I think that there's some very good points to it. I am committed to working to get that rail in our lifetime on the Beltline. I think there's some things that need to happen, not only on the city and regional level, but on the federal level. And it's hopeful that we'll finally get some sort of infrastructure and transportation bill that will allow us to have more money to augment, to put towards getting that Beltline rail done. Again, not in 20 and 30 years, but very soon. So I like that. The SSD is an interesting concept in that we are looking to make sure that we can get the trails done. And, trails was not the primary part of the Beltline. And I think that that's a laudable task. I'm glad that the council under the CDHS committee is really looking at hearing all voices. And so I want to make sure that we hear our voices and that we get that done. But I also want to make sure that we're not going to impact those that are renters, because we have to balance that with affordable housing as well. And what I am always for is transparency. And what I would like to see is more of an accounting of how we have spent the money that we have, so that people can understand and have some comfortability in understanding why we are asking for increased taxes on property owners. So, I think they're valuable opposition and support on both sides. And I'm continuing to assess that as the council does what it should do, and that is take its time to hear from all stakeholders. Let me see, Felicia, why can't we just close down the clubs that haven't not been complying with COVID and basic laws? And that's a good question. And that has to do with enforcement. I'm not sure from the administration side if there are issues with resources in terms of people to do that, but the governor's order does reduce the capacity to, I believe, 30%. It does lay out that you have to give 2 warnings, I believe, before you can close them down. I know there is one club that I don't know that it was closed down for COVID. It may have been for other reasons, but that means that we have to follow all the steps, and we got to dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and we need to do it on a consistent basis, because if we don't, what happens is we end up getting sued, and then that causes a whole nother issue, particularly if we haven't followed the process. But I do think that we can do that if we follow the rules and we put together that consistent enforcement. Unfortunately, I don't think that we have done that in all of the instances that we probably should have. Let's see. Why don't city employees never make it to top pay? I'm not quite sure about that question, other than I would say that, in the past, and this is a long time past, this is back in the Kamala administration, we used to have step increases that were automatic for employees, and that was reduced. So that's why some of them don't make it to top pay, because there may be times where we have to back off of increasing city employees' pay. We are approaching warmer weather. What are the scooter guidelines? I'm pro scooters, but agree we need some guide rails. Well, there are scooter guidelines. Are we still forcing scooters to the streets? And they still are to be on the streets. They're not allowed on the sidewalks. And since we have reduced the number of, or they have reduced themselves, as a matter of fact, the number of scooters, it has not been as big of an issue and problem with the litter and of scooters everywhere, et cetera. But the guidelines in terms of the timing and the lighting at night and the timing where you have to stop, all of those are, as far as I know, are still in place. Welcome to make sure, I think I have everyone. If anyone else has any questions, I have about 9 more minutes, but I need you to ask the questions soon so that I'm sure that I get them in before 11:30. I also want to add on the nightclubs, bars, and restaurants. The council on the restaurant issue, because there are some restaurants that are operating sort of as clubs, and they have a percentage of their income that has to come from food sales. And the council has horned in on that and put in legislation to get audits of those so that we are sure that they're complying with that. I have not seen where we have had any contract yet come before us to get those audit firms started, but that is one way. Also, there is a tag 3, and that's Atlanta Alcohol Technical Advisory Group. And we are now populating that with appointments. I do have an appointment, as well as other council members. So we're trying to get that populated, where they're going to review the alcohol beverage code to make sure that the code is up to date, and the code allows for more enforcement to make sure that these people comply with the law, or to institute new laws or rules and regulations that may not have been in it before. And so that work is going to be happening as well. Any future focus around recruitment and retention of officers? So future focus is one thing, but what's going on right now is we do have a recruit class that is underway. I believe they say it's somewhere around 100. And usually it starts off in one number and ends with another. So hopefully we'll get a great number of recruits from there. I understand that we have beefed up our efforts to get more recruits in. But the main thing for me is the retention of the officers we have. We've lost several, well, I know over 100, maybe 150 officers was the last I remember since probably around March of 2020. Many of them are retiring or just resigning from the force for various reasons. And so I think that we need to really focus on making sure that we're retaining the officers we have. I know Councilmember Shook had put in legislation about a retention bonus with the hopes of that incentivizing officers not to leave. And I hear every day from officers and others that others may be leaving as well. So I think we first got to, quit losing the ones that we have, because we certainly don't want the force to be just a group of new recruits that don't have the experience. And we need to keep our experienced officers to be able to provide guidance for our officers. So, I certainly think that that's something we need to work on. And I hope that we are doing the best that we can to keep the ones we have first, so we don't have to keep trying to fill up the ranks. Any progress on dirt bikes in the streets? I live in West Highlands and I have a lot of dirt bikes driving in the streets. The dirt bikes have been around for maybe about 6 years. I has been intricately involved in that issue. They're not allowed on the streets. The problem with them are they are off-road vehicles and they're very difficult for the police, even if they chase, which they will not chase them because of chase policy, to catch them, because they can go off-road and a police car can't just drive up on a parking lot, on the sidewalk, or through a field or whatever. I do know that the state is looking at not only the off-road vehicles, but as well as the cars that are doing donuts, blocking intersections, and keeping everyone else up at night. I know the governor is introducing a bill that would have stricter penalties and higher fines, as well as losing their driver's license for those who are caught in those offenses. And maybe that will help deter some of the activity if in fact it does pass the state legislature. So we are at the city certainly keeping our eye on what's going on at our state legislature as it relates to increased penalties. The city of Atlanta also, because it was such an emerging issue, passed legislation that if someone is caught and arrested for activities surrounding street racing, that they would be held over. They wouldn't be able to get a signature bond. They would be held over until they're able to get in front of a court judge. And so that has been taking place. And I hope it has deterred. I know the police say that the activity has lessened. Of course, it has not immediately stopped. So why do we still put the pay scales on the jobs? Timothy, I'm not quite sure. The pay scale is on the jobs and they can meet that pay scale as long as there is an increase in the budget and salary to be able to meet it. And we, like I said, we used to have the sort of automatic step increases. We don't have that now because budgetarily over the years, the administrations have stopped that. But at some point, when the council and the mayor and the city itself can financially handle it, they will do increases in salaries for all city employees. The last increases that were considered during this administration have been for our police department, so that we don't continue to lose them, based on a study that was done by the Police Foundation, as well as the firefighters, based on a study that was done with the firefighters. So that is it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up unless you have a quick question for me. Again, our council meeting is today at 1 o'clock and you can view it online on my page as well, this page right here, or you can go to the Atlanta City Council page. It's on Instagram as well. Okay, someone coming in my driveway, sorry. So please make sure you tune in for another Conversations with the Council President. We will keep it going. You can always reach me. I'm available at City Hall by phone. We check our messages frequently, even though we're not there. Also by email, fmoore@atlantagA.gov. We'll put all this in the chat and we respond to all the emails that we receive. Again, thank you. And please stay engaged with us at City Hall as we endeavor to serve you. Stay safe in this COVID environment, social distance, wear your mask, wash your hands, and make sure you get tested. And if you are in the categories of availability, make sure you get your vaccine. So everyone take care, and I will see you again for the next conversation with the Council President. Thank you.